Hi friends, Shae here. So I'm here to talk to you about some queer manga. I'm so excited. So I've got a few different things we're going to talk about, so let's go ahead and dive right in. The first recommendation I have is Our Dreams at Dusk by Yuki Kamatani, I think is how you say their name. But this is about teens and various adults all over on the queer spectrum. And so if you just want a good look at what being queer means in Japan, this is a really great title to start with. It is very hard hitting. There is some slurs thrown at people in the LGBT community. So I will warn you that that is present if that can be triggering to you. So do tread cautiously, but this is truly a beautiful piece of work. If you want to understand what being LGBT means in Japan, this is a great pick. Next up on my recommendation list is Boys Run the Riot. This one is by Kaito Gaku. Yes, Kaito Gaku. And in this one, we're following a transgender teen, and they are exploring themselves. And at school, they meet this person who's also kind of an outsider. Our transgender teen hates going to school because they have to wear the girls' uniform because of the body parts that they have. But this friend that they make, they're a year older, they don't care what anybody thinks of them, and that helps empower our transgender teen to kind of start becoming themselves. They become friends and decide to form a fashion brand together. This is fantastic. I absolutely love and adore it. Next up, I'm going to quickly mention Fruits Basket because even though it's not canon on page, all of the somas are bisexual. Nobody can prove me wrong. I will die on this hill. The new anime confirms that that's what the mangaka wants. So yes, if you're looking for a lot of bi rep, definitely come hang with the somas. We also have Reen, who prefers to dress as a woman than a man. So there's that as well. So with that said, the next one I have is a Yuri recommendation, which means it is a sapphic or female-female title, and that is Days of Love at Sequel Villa. In this one, we're following a woman who was cheated on by her fiance with her best friend. So she goes to take this teaching job far away in the country and ends up meeting this young woman who happens to be the landlord of where she's staying, and they start to form a beautiful friendship that does blossom into a romantic relationship. It's stunning. I love it. I cannot wait for more in this one. And then last but not least is one of my favorite BLs, which is Male. And that is Manly Appetites, Minagishi Loves Otsu. In this one, we have two guys who work at the same office, Minagishi and Otsu. Otsu is always surprised when Minagishi comes down to his department every day because they don't work in the same department. What Otsu doesn't understand in the beginning is that Minagishi is coming to visit him because he has a crush on him. And throughout this volume, Otsu starts to wake up to the fact that Minagishi is coming to visit him, and then things go from there. It is cute. It is funny. Otsu doesn't have great self-talk about himself, so do be cautious of that if that can be triggering to you. But being a chubby person, I loved this. I would want Minagishi for myself, so I totally understand why Otsu's starting to fall for Minagishi. So with that said, those are my queer recs. I hope you enjoyed them. Let me know in the comments down below if you pick them up, and I hope you enjoy all the other parts of this video.
Hey everybody, it's Steve, your friendly neighborhood lawn gnome, and I am very excited to talk about 3 comic book characters that are members of the LGBTQ community. Now, the comic book industry has always been a place for innovation and free thinking, even though there are some people that may not feel that way. But you would actually be very surprised when you actually take a look at some of the characters that are scattered throughout all the major companies, and you might not have even known that some of them were actually members of the LGBT community. So I am glad to give you guys 3 very popular and well-known names that might actually impress you. The first one is from DC Comics, and of course it is John Constantine, also known as Hellblazer, from the comic of the same name. John Constantine, I didn't even know was actually a bisexual individual, and that's probably just because of the fact that it's not really predominant in the comics. I don't know if it is true if he actually is portrayed as such a little bit more in the CW show Legends of Tomorrow, but if that is the case, please leave your comments in the box below. But it wouldn't surprise me as someone who just loves this character, knowing that he is part of that community. He is someone that actually does have a huge heart, even though he does really keep to himself and tries to deny it. But he is someone who truly has pure love for everyone and anyone for the sake of doing what is right, even though it could be in some very dark ways. The next character is a character that actually was created as a straight individual who was shown to come out as gay in the comics in recent years, and that, of course, is my favorite X-Man of all time, Bobby Drake, aka Iceman. Iceman was one of the few Marvel superheroes that I actually knew outside of the well-known ones when I was very young, like Spider-Man, Captain America, The Incredible Hulk, etc. Iceman to me was always just a fun character. Going all the way back to 1963, Bobby Drake was always the mischief maker, the one who went into situations head-on, and also I just loved his powers. But he has gone through some real interesting changes all throughout his life in the pages of comics, to the point where Emma Frost actually had his powers go to their maximum potential, to the point where he actually did come out as a member of the LGBTQ community. He was married at one point in time in the 1980s to a woman, and he finally showed people, this is who I am and this is what I am a part of. And the truth of the matter is, it is just great to know that even though he has gone through all these changes, he still keeps these great mannerisms that he's always had since the 1960s. He's still very headstrong. He is still someone who will go at a situation head on, and he also is still a jokester, and that is my favorite personality trait of Iceman, and I'm just glad to know that he is still pretty much the same lovable character that he has been ever since he was first created. And the other character that I want to introduce you all to is Green Lantern. No, not the Green Lantern like Hal Jordan or John Stewart. I want to talk about the original Golden Age Green Lantern from the 1940s, Alan Scott. He is very different from the Silver Age Green Lantern mythos. His powers were not based on science fiction. They were actually based around magic. His weakness in the old days was not the color yellow, but rather it was the substance which was wood. And in very recent years, we actually found out that Alan Scott did come out as gay. And quite frankly, I think that Green Lantern as a whole, whether it's the Alan Scott years or Hal Jordan, whoever your favorite Green Lantern is, if you want to talk about a place where diversity really is abundant, you can't go further than the Green Lantern comics. Because while the Green Lantern Corps itself today is a vast police force of intergalactic creatures, it couldn't be more diverse than the human Green Lanterns. There are now so many human Green Lanterns of so many different colors and creeds and sexual orientations. We have everything from a straight man to a mixed-raced man to many persons of color to a woman with anxiety to an asexual person. But Alan Scott, to me, is the one that really hits home because of the fact that his coming out was very much in the way that many men in the 1940s and 50s kept their true feelings and their true identities hidden for the purposes of not being ridiculed, and also because of the fact that back in those days, if you were found to be gay, you were literally picked up in a paddy wagon and you were thrown into jail. But this is a character that has built a life for himself. He has 2 children. One of them is actually gay as well. That is the hero Obsidian. And in Infinite Frontier issue 0, which actually just came out in 2021, Alan Scott officially came out to his children, and they were very much accepting. And that's one of the reasons why Alan Scott, when it comes to any LGBTQ character out there, this is the one that really does it for me, just because of the fact that the story in regards to his own feelings and who he truly is probably one of the most true, understanding, and authentic that I've ever read in comic books.
Hey everyone, so in celebration of Pride Month, I'm very excited to have this chance to talk about a few of my favorite LGBT stories and characters. First off, let's start with Revolutionary Girl Utna. This is a classic manga series from the mid-90s that was one of my first introductions into the world of manga. We follow the titular character on her quest to become a prince worthy of winning the hand of the Rose Bride. In a brief video like this, I won't be going into the symbolism and extended allegory to be found here, and instead I'll just say that for those of you who might have missed this one, or who aren't familiar with the world of manga, this is a short series, only 5 volumes, and it's very easy to pick up and digest. Despite the heavy symbolism present, this is still for all intents and purposes an accessible magical girl series, but one with notably interesting characters, and an exploration of gender that's handled tactfully and with empathy for its characters. Some of the ideas here might not seem as transgressive in 2021, but I highly recommend giving this one a try. Even putting aside what the series did to inspire and morph the magical girl genre around it in the years following its release, there's inherent fun to be had within this one, still in 2021. Next, in the world of comics, I want to talk about The Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill. While this one came out in 2017, it's new to me. I just read it about a month ago. But it was a lot of fun. There is a follow-up, The Tea Dragon Festival, which was published in 2019, that I will check out soon, but I can't speak to it at the moment. The Tea Dragon Society is a story primarily following Greta, a young girl and blacksmith apprentice who becomes interested in the dying art of raising and caring for tea dragons. They're tiny magical dragons who grow tea leaves on their horns. This is a short, gentle story that covers concepts of family, legacy, and identity, but in a very accessible way that would make for a great children's bedtime story or just a relaxing read for yourself, whatever your preference. Lastly, I want to mention a work outside the world of comics entirely. As I've mentioned before on this channel, I play a ton of video games, so let's highlight one of my recent favorites, A Night in the Woods, and specifically the character Greg. Greg is rebellious, outspoken, and reminds me of a lot of people I know in the best way possible. Greg isn't an archetype I've seen explored enough in mainstream media. He's energetic, completely sick of his small-town life, and intensely dedicated to his family of choice. He's tender, and his wholesome relationship with another wonderful character, Angus, provides another lens into the complexity of who Greg is. Far from the one-note, perky, albeit crime-loving character that he may appear to be at first glance, I'm so glad to see someone like Greg in such an engaging game. Anyway, those are just a few thoughts from me. Happy Pride. Gender is a box and a construct, so fuck it.